Hi and welcome back. We are going to pick up where we left off after the vocabulary lesson with lesson 11.1 over analyzing categorical data. First things first, we need to go over what is a dot plot and how do we read one. So the problem says, the students in a class were surveyed to find out how many people live with their households. Household members might include parents, step-parents, guardians, and siblings, as well as extended family, such as grandparents. The results of the survey are shown in the dot plot. So, question A says, how many students were surveyed and how do you know? Well, the way that we know is that each dot represents one student. So, to figure out how many were surveyed, all we have to do is count up the dots. Now, one thing that I find helpful when I'm doing these is after I count a row, I go ahead and put down how many is in that row. So for 2, I would go 1, 2, 3, and I put a 3 right above. For 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 7 total at this point. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 4 again, 3, 1, and 2. So now at this point, whenever I go to analyze it, it will be a lot easier because I have numbers instead of dots to look at. So when you add everything up or either count the dots, you will end up having 25 students. Question B is, what percent of the class has a household of 3 or fewer people? In order to do this, we need to set up a proportion to find the percent. Earlier this year, we talked about proportions and how important they would be to everything that we're working on, and this is another one of those times. So our numerator is going to be the number of students with a household of 3 or fewer. So you come up here, how many have 3? 4 people. How many have 2 in their household? 3 people. Combine those to get 7. Remember, our percent means out of 100. So if we multiply our denominators by 4, we have to multiply our numerators by 4. And 7 times 4 is 28. Now that's not what it's asking you though. We have to continue going because it wants it in an actual percent. And we know that 28 out of 100 is 28%. When you do the critical thinking on this problem, you must show your work. Now the answer is obviously already there. It is 20%. However, in order for you to get credit on this assignment, you must show the work on how you get the number. Okay? So, turn the page. Solving a problem including bar graphs. Bar graphs organize data into categories and show the frequency for each category. You identify the frequency for each category by comparing the height of each bar to its scale. If you need to read over that again, it is at the top of page 350. So, for example 1, it says, 3 boys and 3 girls ran for 7th grade class president. The boys are Andrew, Derek, and Miguel. The girls are Becky, Dora, and Tricia. The results of the election are shown in the bar graph. Which is greater, the percent of total votes for boys that Derek received or the percent of total votes for girls that Dora received? So, if you read through the steps, they show you exactly what to do in order to solve a problem like this. Step 1, you need to calculate the percent of total votes for boys that Derek received. In order to do that, you need to set up a ratio. When you work through the ratio, like the work on here shows, you will end up seeing that Derek received 45% of the total votes for boys. This is the pattern that you will use each time. So step 2 says calculate the percent of total votes for girls that Dora received. You also need to set up the same type of ratio. Notice our numerator is the number of votes for Dora, just like in step 1, the numerator was number of votes for Derek. Our denominator is going to be the total number of votes for girl candidates. So when you read through the work, you're going to see that Dora received 40% of the total votes for girls. Step 3, compare the percents calculated in the previous 2 steps. Because 45% is greater than 40%, the percent of votes for boys that Derek received is greater. Now, when you go to the next page, it's going to say that you have a problem of your own to do. So, in example 1, calculate the percent of total votes that Dora received. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to figure it out. If you try to turn it in without having any work, I'm not going to count it. Whenever you do the work, your answer should equal 22%. Once again, I'm giving you the answer. You have to show me the work on how you get it. If you don't, you will not receive credit. Going on to example 2. This is solving problems involving circle graphs. A circle graph shows how a set of data is divided into parts. The entire circle contains 100% of the data. Each section of the circle represents one part of the entire data set. Data values are often given as percents. We know this. We have seen them many, many times throughout the school year so far with dealing with percents. So example 2. There are 5,000 tickets available for a concert. The percent of available tickets belonging to each ticket type is shown in the circle graph. Calculate the number of tickets available for each type of ticket. So, just like before, we need to create a ratio that represents each type of ticket. So, our floor tickets are 16%. Our platinum seats are 2%. Our club are 8%. Our lower level are 30%. And our upper level are 44%. So we know percent means out of 100, so then we can create our ratios. Once we have our ratios, we can set up and solve a proportion to find the number of each type of ticket. So obviously the work is there. I'm not going to read everything out to you. Take a minute, look over the work, and then you will be able to figure out what your answer is. It says the floor has 800 tickets. The lower level should have 1,500. The upper level has 2,200. The club has 400. And the platinum section has 100. So, when you turn the page, you will have a section that is your turn. So, you are going to use the example in order to help you answer this question. Pause the video, work out the problem, and when you come back to the video, the answer will be here again. You will just need to show the work in order to get the answer. No work, no credit. When you work it out, you should get 2% as your answer. Notice it says round to the nearest percent. So if you did not round, you need to make sure that you're really fully reading the directions. Now, your assignment for this section is to complete the guided practice. Use the work that you have done in the first 2 examples in order to help you answer these questions. Good luck!